I learned long ago a system that I call the 7 and 8 rule. It's very simple and obvious when I first start explaining it. Now, if someone's in your company and they are really good, like you love them, they love you, they're obviously a 9 and 10, you want to keep them and you want them to stay and they want to stay. Most of the time, those people are 9 and 10s because they're enjoying it. Now, of course, like I said earlier, make sure you give these people equity. Make sure you look after these people over time. But you know you want to keep them and they want to stay. It's a no-brainer, it's cool. Then you have what I call the 1s and 2s. These are people who are shit at their job. They know they're shit at their job. You know they're shit at their job. And most of the time they either quit or you fire them. It's a no-brainer, everyone feels it. They don't turn up on time. They don't care about the purpose of the company. Whatever it is, it's obvious that relationship comes to an end naturally. The really difficult thing for any employer, and for that matter, any employee, is if you are a 7 and 8, which means you're almost good enough. You're almost able to do the job. And sometimes, as an employer, you're desperately hoping they become good enough. You're waiting for them to become a 9 and 10. And some days they are, but then they slip back to a 6. Some days they're a 7. And there's various reasons why people are 7 and 8. And often it's not because they're crap at their job. It's because they're in the wrong job with the wrong team doing the wrong thing. I have often seen a 7 and 8 and actually moved them to a different department or a different role and they become 9s and 10s. But that's not always the case. And sometimes the hardest people to fire are the 7 and 8s. So how do you do it? Well, I think first of all, you put proper structure in place to identify what is success for that employee. You want to understand how they work, what's going on in their lives. Instead of walking into the room and saying you haven't performed, you walk into the room and you say, how can I help you perform? There's things that you can do as a leader to check whether or not that person can get better at their job and if there's anything you can do to support them. But in the end, learn the 7 and 8 rule. And I have seen this. I have kept 7 and 8s in my companies in the past, and the 9s and 10s leave. If someone can surf, get away with it, and not do their job, and no repercussions, then why would a 9 and 10 stay? Why would a 9 and 10 stay a 9 and 10? If they can get lazy and not work as hard, or cut corners and not get fired, then you're going to have a problem. 9 and 10s will not stay in your business, and you'll have a company full of 7 and 8s. And 7 and 8s are hard to manage, take up nearly all of the conversation, any HR conversation. You have to learn to grow a pair of balls and fire these people. And you know what? When you do, this has happened to me many times, they're grateful. Because those 7 and 8s, if you fire them, can often go on to find a job they like where they are a 9 and 10 and are appreciated. It's your responsibility to fire 7 and 8s. So how can you identify if someone is a 7 and 8? Well, the rule I have is how many times a day are you talking about them? If they come up too much in any conversation amongst your team members, amongst your customers, more than once or twice in a week, you've probably got a problem.